So we are talking about winning the year. Winning the year. How many of you all already feel like you're winning? And if you don't, can you think about the last time you won something? When was the last time you won something? Like, just think about that. Embody that moment. Because I remembered very quickly, as I was looking over my notes, I was like, oh, I got to start with this story. I was in Colorado teaching myself how to snowboard. No, not teaching myself. I had a tutor. But I was like, I want to start the new year doing something so random, so different, but most importantly, potentially starting with a fail. I have never snowboarded before. It is not easy, but I love that I allowed myself to try something new to start the year, because so often we only focus on doing things that are easy. So when is the last time you won something? For me, I love this game called Scattergories. Does anyone know the game Scattergories? Classic, classic. It is so good. Someone type it in the chat and everyone get your life together. Go out and buy the board game because it is better than Monopoly, better than chess and checkers. It is incredible. So I won a game of Scattergories with 4 of my friends when we were learning how to ski and snowboard in Colorado. And we did 8 games and I won the best out of 8 games. And I won by about 4 points total. But oh my goodness, it was competitive. It was slightly toxic, but it was thrilling. There is something about winning that just pulls you into your best self. And let's be honest, the feeling of winning is up there with, can we be adults here? Are we adults? Just are we adults here? Because winning is up there with orgasms. Winning is the mental orgasm, okay? Let's be honest. So there are certain things I do to analyze, optimize, and catalyze my wins. I'll say that again. There are certain things that I do to help me analyze, optimize, and catalyze my wins. Now I think of this quote by Mark Twain. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So what does that mean? If you want to change your life in any way, if you want to have a different year, you've just simply got to do something different. A lot of us just hope and wish our way into change when we've really got to work for it. Okay, so my journey of entrepreneurship, many of you know the story, started 20 years ago when I was 11 years old on career day. And I've had so many seasons of loss and failure and confusion, which is why I can speak with so much clarity and conviction today. My goodness, it is the experience and the failure that gives you the wisdom and the depth. I'm gonna say that again. It is the experience and the failure that gives you the wisdom and the depth. The people I look up to most likely failed more than others. If you want to be respected, be willing to fail publicly. Fail out loud. Allow yourself to try and fail and try again. I've had seasons of my life in my entrepreneurial journey where I made no money, but I had a lot of time. And then there were seasons where I made great money, but I had no time. Now I'm in a season where I'm like, balance, glow, balance. It is out there for you. So last year I took a step back and I took 4 months off to really figure out, how do I balance the two, money and time? And so every year, and you might hear that many people do this, a focus word or a word of the year or an intention for the year. My word of the year is freedom. I think freedom is at the root of all my joy and the catalyzer to an abundance mindset. Freedom is like my North Compass. It's my North Star. It's what I look at when I'm dictating my schedule and figuring out what I want to do with my life. And not just a word of the year, but I went even further. It was 11:45 p.m. I was in Colorado slopes. It was just a few minutes before midnight. And I was like, I need something deeper than just a word. Like, okay, yes, I want freedom in 2022, but something else, think, glow, think. And I'm with my friend. And I'm like, ask me questions, talk to me about my purpose, ask me things so that I just need to download thoughts. Ask me things. Like, okay, what are your goals? What do you want to do? How do you want to make people feel? And we're just yelling at each other. It was the most exciting and probably confusing conversation for a bystander. But what came out of that was the pursuit of possibility. The pursuit of possibility. I'd love for you all to write your words and phrases of the year in the chat and inspire the rest of the community. The pursuit of possibility. I want to show people what's possible by doing the otherwise impossible. Every time I take a step outside of my lane, every time I step outside of the box that people put me in, I love to show others what they can do too. It's not about me. Your life and your journey has nothing to do with you. You are a catalyst. You are a vessel. You are a mirror to your community to let them know what's possible for them. So the pursuit of possibility is all about mirroring the possibilities that others have in themselves. How many lives can I live? How many souls can I reach? How many lessons can I pass on? That's what's gonna really drive me forward. I'm gonna shout some of you out. So Ray, you got delegate, Mark, intention, Nancy, appreciate, Raywin, Rain, sorry if I butchered your name, light, Ray is fun, Neha is focused, Nadia is peaceful, Faith is inspired, Jenny wants clarity, Beth wants to serve. This is amazing. I love this. And if you don't have your word yet, like just scroll through the chat and allow other people's intention to inspire you, okay? Beautiful. Discipline is a controlled form of behavior. When you are undisciplined, it means you let your emotional responses dictate how you act. When you have discipline, you are showing a controlled form of behavior. Discipline is the skill, focus is the byproduct. Build the skill of discipline and focus will become the byproduct, guys. Stop trying to be great at something and aim to be disciplined at it. Because when we aim for greatness, it feels like a very, I don't want to say a selfish pursuit, but it just seems like self-serving. But when you want to be disciplined at something, discipline breeds mastery. Discipline becomes like, I want to be so good at this that I become a master at this skill that now I can teach my community how to also become masters at this. Okay, guys, like this is, okay. Now I'm going to go into 3 ways that I personally increase my focus. There's an app called Toggl, Toggl, Toggl desktop app, Toggl. This is a Google Chrome plugin, and it's also an app both on Android and iPhone. So a lot of you guys, sometimes you approach your day without discipline. So instead of you're wondering like where your time went, tell it where to go instead of wondering where it went. So if you use the Toggl app, you can track, I'm spending 4 hours on emails. One thing as well, when it comes to focus, no, we can no longer be people who check our emails 10 times a day. Like bless, my sponsors and my partners and people that I correspond with, but they know if they don't catch me in the morning, then they're going to catch me in the evening. And if they miss me in the evening, they'll get me tomorrow. Nothing is an emergency. And when I have that own self-discipline with my time and how often I'm checking my emails, I'm able to focus more of my undivided attention on the task at hand. So make sure you have a discipline around how much and how often you're checking your emails. And I know this might vary depending on the working relationship and the boundaries that's already been established. So unfortunately, this can't be the rule for everyone. But if possible, try to find a way to only check your email twice a day, maybe 3 times max, morning, afternoon, evening. That way, you're not constantly in responsive mode, like reactive mode, like just, I got to constantly react to other people. And I believe BURCHARD said this at High Performance Academy, I think a couple years ago, but he was like, email is nothing more than a list of other people's agendas. Your email is nothing more than a list of other people's agendas. Shout out to Brendan, because that stuck with me 2 years later. It still sticks with me. Okay. So again, the Toggl app, Toggl. The second thing that I do to increase my focus, my phone goes on do not disturb from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And when you put your phone on do not disturb, even if people try to access you, your phone blocks it. Not in a, harmful way. That sounds really rude. Your phone will block people. They just want it'll, if someone tries to call you past 8 p.m., it'll say this person is not receiving calls at this time. How respectful. That's really nice. Isn't that like a really cool boundary to set? Like, it's not even that this person doesn't want to talk to you. It's this person is not receiving calls at this time. The person on the other side of that is now aware of the boundary you've placed for yourself because of your own disciplined focus. You have said from 8 p.m., which should be your winding down hours, because just like you have a morning routine, you should be having an evening routine as well. If you are falling asleep to Netflix, am I calling some people out? Let's stop falling asleep to Netflix and Hulu, guys. Like, I understand we need those decompressing hours, but I want the last hours and the last minutes of my day to be spent reading, because what then happens is when I'm sleeping, I'm marinating on the words that I just read. So I love to read like the Zen stuff. I'm reading some Zen Buddhism stuff because it's really helping me just be more calm. So when I read that before bed, I'm now dreaming. Well, I imagine myself dreaming and just marinating in this dream, this other dimension, wherever we go when we sleep. We create these alternative realities, but I imagine myself marinating on those words. And when I wake up, I find myself in a really peaceful place. Okay, so that do not disturb is really important. 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Those are my personal boundaries. You guys can, 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., whatever you want it to be. And the reason I said until 8 a.m. is because if I'm waking up at 5, that means I have 3 hours of uninterrupted meditation, journaling, prayer, workout, whatever I want my morning to be. Because a lot of us are trying to start our days pouring from an empty cup. We haven't even filled our own cup yet. And we've got the demands of the world, work, our partners, our kids. There's so much. And I admire so many of you that wear so many hats and show up for so many people. But understand, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And you cannot be your best self if you are constantly running on responsive mode, just responding to what the world throws at you. Excuse me. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing is one thing at a time. You have 80 tabs in your browser and you feel like, oh, I'm just accomplishing so much because I'm working on this project. I've got this tab open. Like, enough of that. We are going to no longer praise that type of approach, because I used to like brag about how multitasking like I could be. I mean, I could do this, I could work out while I'm also reading, and then I can also do this and send that email. No, guys, people, whatever you're working on, they deserve 100% of you. Like, give unfocused, undivided, dedicated time to one task at a time. Because what's then going to happen is you're going to enter this thing called flow state. Flow state is the most beautiful thing. Guys, momentum is so lucrative. When you enter flow state, things just start clicking. But you can't enter flow with one task if you are spread across 10 tasks, okay? So make sure you're allowing yourself the capacity to work on one thing at a time. And when we wake up with to-do list every single day, what does your to-do list look like? Are you the kind of person that writes 20 things? Somehow you feel like you're Beyonce and you can accomplish 20 things in a day. Guys, we are not Beyonce. We are normal human beings. I'm just kidding. We really have to approach our days more realistically. Because what I used to do is I would say, okay, today's going to be a good day, Glo. You're going to wake up at 5 a.m. We're going to write these 20 things. We're going to accomplish them. Like, oh, we're on fire. And I'll get to noon or I'll get to 3 p.m. and I've checked off 2 boxes. And out of 20 things, I've checked off 2 boxes. And then the rest of my day, I'm sulking over what I haven't accomplished yet. And then what happens? By the next day, I wake up in deficit with negative 18. Because of all the things that I did. And so now I have negative 18 plus the new 10 things that I miraculously need to accomplish by the next day. Okay, I want you guys to give yourself more grace and be a little more practical with the things that you put on your daily to-do list. No more than 3. And if you guys can find ways to simplify your day-to-day approach to just 3 manageable tasks, you guys will be so much more manageable and you'll be able to give yourself a lot more grace, okay? So one thing at a time, no more multitasking. And with your to-do list, no more than 3. So today's message is going to be about advanced mindset and resiliency.
I traveled for 7 years. That was my career in my 20s. I was a travel blogger. And I remember when I was in Montenegro. Montenegro's in Europe. It's in the Balkans. It's a beautiful country, probably top 5 for me. And I was walking and I was just exploring. And I remember I was getting those peculiar stares. I was used to the stares. You know, I'm a solo Black woman. I get it. I'm in a country that doesn't have many Black people. There were those stares, but this stare was different. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep on going with it. Little did I know that, well, Europe, number one, is a very big tennis continent. You have Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, all came from Europe, and they're massive global tennis stars. And little did I know, I resembled Serena Williams. And so the stares weren't about like, oh, it's just another Black woman. It was like, oh, we have this American tennis star in our country. All of these people thought I was Serena Williams, and they were trying to get my autograph. And I didn't know this about celebrities, but when they travel, a lot of times they don't want to be bothered, so they use an alias name. And I was like, no, I'm Glow, I'm not Serena. No, Glow, please, Serena Williams. And they were begging me and telling me that, no, we know that you're Serena. Please just, take a picture with us. And it was so funny, but I was like, I was literally trying to outrun the paparazzi. And I got back to my hostel, and I go out to dinner later on, and there's this one Russian man who was still able to track my whereabouts. And, as I say this out loud, it sounds a little bit creepy, but it was genuine. He had kids that loved Serena Williams. And so he said, Sevina, please, for my kids. Sevina, please, for my kids. And so what did I do? Got my pen, signed Serena with a smiley face, and let him on his way. That is resilience. Not the kind that we're going to talk about, but it's resilience nonetheless. And I want to talk to you guys about how when there's something that you want, no matter the circumstances, you will find a way to get it. That's entrepreneurship. That's life. But advanced mindset, I want to break down an acronym here, because advanced mindset, it comes down to your mind. So I want you guys to write out MIND, and we're going to break down a mind framework that's going to help you have a more advanced mindset. The first one, M, mission, a mission that can change the world. A lot of us are still operating from a very selfish place. And I speak from experience. When I was travel blogging, all I wanted to do was travel the world and get paid. So some of you guys have to understand, like, what is it about your skill set, your career, or your industry that you can attach to a greater cause? Maybe because of personal experience or overcome trauma. Think about it. If you're a nutritionist that overcame a disease, how can you now teach on holistic wellness? Okay. If you're a business coach, maybe, who overcame poverty, how can you now attach socioeconomic issues as a part of your branding, as a part of your messaging? Take your own personal story and attach it to a larger mission, because that's what's going to make you stand out as a leader, make you stand out as an entrepreneur, and just make you stand out in your industry in general. Intuition to speak up when it matters. Leadership is easy when things are going well. It's easy to be a leader when you don't have to actually lead on hard stuff, okay? And I was like, ooh. And I found myself like really having to feel convicted about what leadership means, and that intuition to speak up when it matters most. Because sometimes controversy is necessary in a teaching moment. Figuring out how to take something that could be controversial and turning it into a teaching moment. Every single thing that I post, you'll never find, my page is not about drama. My teaching style, my education style, nothing is about drama or gossip or hatred. That's not where I come from. It's lessons, it's learning, it's teaching. Because that's intuition as a leader. Like, okay, this needs to be spoken about. How can I speak about it in a way that no one else has covered? With grace, compassion, with light, okay? Intuition is having the ability to recognize a moment that can set your core values apart from everyone else. It is easy to do what everyone else is doing. It is easy to speak like everyone else is speaking. The hard thing is to pause and to reflect. And when you're about to speak out on something, how can you do that inner work of saying, okay, can I see myself in this situation? Have I done something like this before? Okay. The next one, N, nuanced navigation. And it's funny because I was like, what is nuance? We use it a lot of times, but we use words sometimes and we're like, wait, what's the actual textbook definition of nuance? Nuance is a subtle difference, a subtle change of expression, okay? And a lot of times you're going to navigate through life not always needing to go with the flow of the world. And whether your business mission is to change the face of education, maybe your business mission is to change the face of marketing, again, because your advanced mindset is going to be it's going to be more forward thinking. There's going to be a larger cause that you've got to attach your branding to, but you have to have nuance in your teaching, in your decision making, in your integrity, in your values. You have to be able to recognize what's for you and what's not. Okay, don't chase things. Attract them by the way you show up. Don't chase after things. Attract them by the way you're showing up in the world, okay? I think a lot of times, especially as a beginning entrepreneur in my 20s, I was still so hungry to fit in, hungry for purpose, hungry for finances because I was broke, trying to figure out like, where do I go? And your navigation, your GPS system has to have nuance. If you are going the direction of everyone else, you might not be doing it right. You might not be doing it right because leadership is going to take you to pause. It's going to force you to slow down. It's going to force you to detour sometimes. It's going to force you to put something in reverse, put the whole vehicle in reverse and say, okay, I went down this path because I saw everyone else doing it, but maybe this isn't actually where I'm supposed to be going. Okay, nuanced navigation. There should always be a subtle difference in the way you're speaking up, in the way you're showing up, in the way you're leading, in the way you're educating, in the way you're providing, in the way you're serving. There should always be nuance, okay? And then D, diligent. You want to be careful, conscious, and committed to your work. It is so easy to let the glitz and glam of success and life just overwhelm you and make you feel like everything you've done was on your own goodwill, okay? You have to be careful, conscious, and committed, not just to your work, but to the mission and staying connected to the community that you're trying to help. And you do this by dedicating yourself to a cause that is greater than yourself. And I remember I was, I think 27, I was in Jamaica the first time my blog hit 6 figures. And that was, up until that point, that was my only goal. I wanted to get paid to travel. I wanted to have a 6-figure blog. Once I get there, I'm rich, woo! I think my first year as a full-time travel blogger, I made $7,000 the entire year. So the idea of a 6-figure blog was so out of reach that I was like, if I can get there, maybe one day if I get lucky, I was like, oh, I'll just kind of stop, like, because that's all I need. And what happened when I reached 100K? Spiraled, went into a 3-week episode of depression. Because when you put so much value on money and not your core values, not your integrity, not a mission, you lose yourself. I was so, that moment of a 6-figure blog, I put so much weight in that. I didn't know what I needed to feel, but when I got there, I didn't feel anything. I was expecting like maybe my shower was going to feel different. Maybe glitter would like pop under my balloons or pop under my pillows. Balloons would come from the sky. Like, where is my party? Like, I've had this goal. Where's the celebration? Didn't feel anything. In fact, I regressed. I felt, I stopped reading. I stopped praying. I stopped reading my devotional. I lost sight of myself. And so it's so important. Have financial goals, but my goodness, have a mission first. Have a mission first.
Many people often think that leaders are born. That is often a myth, that you have to be born a leader. You have to be born an entrepreneur. You have to be born someone that has that growth mindset. But you can be trained. There are so many ways that you can learn to strengthen and develop your leadership skills. So I want to share ways to strengthen your leadership personally, professionally, and publicly. The very first one is the one that people hate. So that's why I'm going to start with it. Asking for feedback. Now, I want you to think of 5 people that you've known or that have known you for the last at least 10 years. because you're going to ask them these set of questions once I get to it in a second. Okay. Brainstorm 5 people. These could be friends, coworkers, former classmates, people that know you on a little bit more of an intimate level. And the reason I'm asking for at least a decade is because you want to make sure the people you're asking these questions to have a little bit of context of your story. It's easy for someone to only see the positive sides of you when you're only hanging out when life is going well. But if someone's known you for a decade, they've probably seen you at your worst. I hope. That's the goal. We're not all saints here, okay? We've got saints and ain'ts. Sometimes I'm a saint, sometimes I'm an ain't. So first is your family. The first question I want you to ask your family is, when I'm stressed, am I scary to be around? The second question, how well do I communicate my needs? And the last one, what's one word to describe me when something inconvenient happens? And when you're asking these questions to your family members, again, this is going to take a lot of just ego reflection, because they're going to give you their honest truth. There's no one more honest in our lives than our family. I know my mother does not hesitate at any opportunity to tell me when I'm messing up at anything. Gloria, you're so impatient. My mom's Nigerian, for those that don't know. You're so impatient, Gloria. Take your time. Okay? The second group of questions that I want you to ask are for your friends. First question, are our conversations around gossip or growth? And this will be very telling, helping you identify some of the people that you shouldn't be spending so much time with. Because if these people are answering gossip, that's a problem. Second question to ask your friends, if I saw $100 on the ground, what do you think I would do with it? Sometimes our friends know us better than family. This is an integrity check. Would you pick up that $100 and keep it? Would you try to find its owner? Like, again, being a leader is keeping your ethics, your morality, your integrity in check. I firmly believe how you do one thing is how you do everything. If your friends tell you, oh, you probably put it in your pocket, you have failed as a leader. I'm kidding. Third question to ask your friends. Is our friendship reciprocal, or do I need to be there for you more? Sometimes we don't even know if we've been a good friend, a good leader in people's lives, if we're not even there for them. Okay? Personally, professionally, and the last one, publicly. So all of us have communities that we're trying to serve online. Here are the questions to ask your followers, fans, people online that engage with your page. First question. What can I improve about my content? And you can ask this on Instagram stories. You can make this as a Facebook status update, as a tweet. The second one, what would you like to see more of? The third one, how can I be more valuable? Okay, so all of that was in the first section of asking for feedback. What great leaders do is constantly ask for feedback. Personally, professionally, and publicly. When you're on this journey, you're building a brand, you're trying to be an icon, you often operate in a silo unintentionally, meaning you kind of separate yourself from everyone else. Everything that you do is a reflection of your own thoughts, the way, your own perspective, the way that you perceive the world. It is so important to get that feedback. Okay? Number 2, to strengthen your leadership, evaluate your goals. If you only want to help people that can pay you, I want you to check your heart. What I mean by that is the top leaders in the world, look at their social media platforms. They're using it to freely educate, motivate, and inspire the world. Yes, have paid clients, but how are you showing up on a regular basis, just hoping to inspire or liberate someone else? There's a quote that says, if all of your goals came true, would it change the entire world or just yours? Okay? It is so important that we are constantly checking our goals and our heart and the ways that we're serving other people. If I only posted when brands paid me to post, it would become a commercial place. My page would turn into some virtual real estate that I would just sell to the highest bidder. But someone who I used to do a lot of, influencer jobs, and I turned down dozens of jobs every single week. Because it's like my page is now, I'm so sacred about what I post on my page because I value my community so much. There are thousands of marketing messages and ads that they get every single day. I don't want my page to be just another one. At the end of the day, I'm here to freely serve and freely educate. Those that want to go deeper with me, they have options to, but make sure that you are not just creating content when you have something to sell. Great leaders have a dedication, a commitment, this deeper calling and inclination to just serve people. Okay, that's what it's really about. The third way to strengthen and deepen your leadership: seek challenges. Literally, seek out challenges. So often we are trying to find the easiest path to success. We're taking detours, we're circling the block twice, going the shortcut. My goodness, challenges develop you. Challenges help you build character, okay? Sure, you can have seasons of ease and seasons of growth, but make sure at least once a quarter, you're putting yourself in an environment where you're forced to confront a blind spot or a weakness. Sometimes we only work on our strengths, we only focus on what we're good at, but great leaders are constantly putting themselves in situations where they know, oh, I don't have experience here, so I guess I'm gonna learn. I guess I'm gonna learn the hard way. The best teacher is the experience. It's not finding a way to avoid conflict, avoid conversation, avoid confrontation. It is going right into the middle of it. And me, some of you who have been here since January, you've seen me even develop my voice as a Growth Day coach. I remember my very first talk, I was talking to Blossom, who's on here as well. And I came in, I was really giggly and I was like really excitable and I was just laughing the whole time. You can see I've kind of like developed myself, developed my poise, developed a way to invoke a little bit of humor here and there, but making sure I'm putting the stories and the lessons first. A challenge for me, a challenge for many people is speaking. More people are afraid of public speaking than dying. It just goes to show how scary it is. So guess what I'm gonna do to develop myself as a speaker? I'm going on a speaking tour next year. Terrifying. Woo, I'm so scared. Y'all are like exclusive. This is the first time I'm talking about it. But I'm like, how else am I gonna be a better speaker? Why not put myself out there, go on tour, hit up as many cities across the nation as possible, and just put myself in places that are gonna challenge me, grow me, force me to get even better at what I do, okay? Number 4, the fourth way to strengthen your leadership: put yourself in more leadership positions. Some of us don't even trust our own leadership capabilities because we've never had to lead anything. Okay, I remember going back to high school and college, I was the team captain for many years. I also find myself naturally wanting to host things. Brendan would always say, you don't want to be the coolest person at the party. You want to be the host of the party. Brendan's like, he's always got those gems. It was literally like 2.5 years ago, I heard him say that at High Performance Academy. You don't want to be the coolest person at the party. You want to be the one to host the party, because the host is taking on a leadership role. The host is delegating. The host is managing. The host is setting expectations. The host is setting out the invites. The host is marketing. The host is coordinating. My goodness, the host is doing the most. The hostess with the mostest. It is so important that you are constantly and consistently putting yourself in leadership positions so you can develop your communication skills, your ability to lead a team, your ability to just manage expectations. There's so much responsibility that comes with leadership, but so many of us avoid it because we're not sure of how good we're going to be at it. Again, the best way to grow at anything is to take it and tackle it head on, okay? My definition of fulfillment, for me, it means to reach or exceed your potential with your integrity intact. So for those that don't know, for 9 years, I lived out of 4 suitcases, traveling 90 countries across 6 continents. It was the most exciting, crazy, exotic, wild, adventurous, and humbling journey I've ever taken. And before I started this journey, influencer marketing wasn't a thing. So before Brendan created an influencer brand and an influencer conference and summit, influencer marketing was kind of an idea and a concept before it became an industry. So when I was in my early 20s, I was like, okay, I've been on the internet at that point for 11 years. I was like right before the wave of Twitter and MySpace and Tumblr. And I knew I had this concept of digital storytelling. So I remember I was like, okay, I can build my brand showing people that I am influential, showing people that I can tell really good stories. And so I really like chased this idea of just like building a brand around myself. And I had my first six-figure blog year in 2016. And I remember watching the six-figure hit and I was like, okay, I was waiting for that moment. For me, six figures was like, that was like what it meant to be a millionaire. I remember just feeling like money was just so foreign to me, never grew up with much. So the idea of six figures was just like, wow, if I can reach that with my blog, I will be so rich. So when I reached it, I was like, why do I still feel empty? Why? What's missing? Where did I go wrong? Where is the glitter and the rainbows? Like I should be pissing gold. Like I had this whole different scenario of what a six-figure blog and a six-figure career would look like. And this was back in 2016. And because I didn't feel what I wanted to feel, I was like, this isn't it. And so I remember it took me actually probably 18 months, but in 2019, I remember I had 2 words of the year. And this is something that I highly recommend everybody should do. Create a word for every year. And this is just the word that drives your intention forward. So for me in 2019, my 2 words were surprise and service. I wanted to surprise myself with all the ways that I could serve others. I bent over backwards, creating programs and groups and cohorts and trips to aid people on their journeys and solve problems that I felt like I had the answers to. I all of a sudden was obsessed with curating community and making sure that no one felt alone on their journey, because I did. And I was like, how can I make sure no one experiences what I did? Feeling alone in your accomplishments, feeling alone in your pursuits, all of that. I was like, I have to find a way to just build community. And so prior to that, again, I was building my brand and building my business as like a selfish pursuit. It was exciting, but it wasn't fulfilling. Excitement is not fulfillment. Something was missing. So going into inner fulfillment first, the first thing that you should do to find inner fulfillment is lead a life with integrity. Because my goodness, when you lose your integrity, you have nothing left. And I remember there were moments on my journey where, oh, easy money here, or this person got away with doing that. Should I also do that because it built their brand fast? I always took the stairs. I see the elevator success, and as alluring as it can be, I was like, nope. Here is the emergency exit with the stairway, and that is where the lights are flashing. This is where I will go. Be comfortable taking the stairs when we live in a world of people looking for the elevator. The stairway to success will be longer, but it will be filled with so many more opportunities for you to develop your character and for you to build traits that are long-standing for the long run. Okay? Number 2, for finding inner fulfillment, commit to service-driven work. So like I mentioned, when I was starting off as a blogger and just as an influencer, everything was about me. How much money can I get paid to travel? How much money can I get paid to go here and to post this? It was a selfish pursuit. I didn't have any type of way of giving back to my community or helping them. So how can you add more service to your work, to your brand, and to your business? Commit to service-driven work. Number 3, do not compromise your values. If you are someone who does not, let's say, for example, drink, don't work with an alcohol brand. It feels very obvious, but this is actually a true story. Alcohol brands pay a lot of money. I think the top 3 industries as an influencer, the alcohol brands pay a lot of money, cars pay a lot of money, and fashion pays a lot of money. So if you are someone, you built a sober brand, like that is a value. That is something that's your lifestyle. Like don't compromise that just for quick money. And it takes away from feeling fulfilled when you're doing things just for the money. Okay, so do not compromise your values, no matter what they are. Number 4, love the skin you're in. It is such a fulfilling journey and such a fulfilling life when you are obsessed with yourself. No one can love you more than you. Not your kids, not your spouse, not your best friend, not even your parents. You have to love you more than anyone else in this world. And when you develop that self-love, that obsessive self-love, not to a narcissistic level, obsessive isn't a good word, but you are just like, man, I love my journey. I love my flaws. I love my mistakes. I love my growth. I love my commitment and dedication for more. Like, there is so much to love about yourself. It's not about saying the perfect and idealistic version of me looks like this, and since I'm not there yet, I can't fully love myself. No, love yourself at every step of the journey. Before a baby knows how to walk, do you say, I'm gonna hold on my love until you're at least taking your first step? It's like, you love a baby when it's crawling. You love a baby when it's pooping its pants. You love a baby at every step. So why can't you love yourself at every step too? Many of you know I'm not a parent, but before you log off, I'm the product of two parents. So I'm hoping to speak from another perspective that shares the biggest things I'm most grateful my parents did for me. Many of you know my parents are Nigerian American, so it's going to be a very animated call, so prepare for that. Number one, prioritizing education beyond the classroom. There's a quote that says, "Don't let school get in the way of your education." And I think that's so important. Many of you probably understand, and I mean, it's well known now that you don't have to go to college in order to be successful in this world. There are a lot of the most successful founders today are college dropouts, or they just avoided college altogether. I'm glad that my parents pushed education towards me. They wanted me to go to college. They wanted me to get that degree. But I love that learning wasn't just something that was done in school. Everything was always a moment to learn. And by prioritizing education as an adult now, I can see how that's translated. I am so eager to read books just to read, just to learn. Like my friends now who, like, and again, nothing against clubs, going to clubs and bars, that's cool. I'm like, oh no, I just picked up a new book. I just went to the bookstore, I got a new book. I think I'm just gonna, like, Gloria, are you okay? Like, you seem, I'm like, I'm just hungry to learn. There's this beauty and this hunger that you can really instill in kids at a young age when you show them the power and the results of an education. So prioritizing education, it came before anything. It came before sports, it came before music, came before family gatherings. I might have resented it at the time, but it was the best thing that they did. Number two, enrolling me in arts and sports. My parents enrolled me in arts and sports as young as 7 years old. I played the alto saxophone, the trombone, and the piano. Now, I was that band geek. I literally remember I was like a chubby little kid, and I would have to walk with my big trombone in my hand, and my cheeks were really, I had like chipmunk cheeks because my baby fat and stuff. So I'm like, Mom, but I was an actual band geek. And what I loved about the art section in music is that it taught me collaboration and discipline and teamwork. There's a quote that says, "Earth without art is just eh." Art is a powerful and beautiful thing. Everything that you enroll your kids in doesn't have to translate into something that's going to have a financial success or some type of financial gain. Sometimes art is a beautiful thing to explore just for a child or a kid to explore what they love and to see them kind of entertain a skill set that they can carry with them through life. To this day, 25 years later, I still play the piano. And it has nothing to do with business. It is just the way I feel my spirit. Because as you know, you should be doing things that fill your mind, fill your spirit, and fill your body. So to fill my spirit, I play the piano. So I'm so thankful for the art section. Now, sports on the other side of that, maybe that feels a little masculine, but get this. I played basketball, softball, tennis, and golf. Basketball, I went all the way to semi-pro. I played in Spain overseas. Tennis, I went all the way to college with that. So I played collegiately, singles and doubles in college for tennis. And then golf and softball, I played until high school. Now, golf was almost a joke. So you can imagine if I'm playing 4 sports in the high school season, there is no time for me to look at boys. My mom was smart. She knew what she was doing. There was no time for me to flirt, no time for me to get in trouble, no time for me to be on the streets getting into mess that I'm not supposed to be getting into. So the sports not only, again, taught me the discipline and the teamwork and the collaboration, it kept me busy. So I really appreciate the sports side as well. Now, when I look back on some of my favorite memories as just playing team sports, because so basketball was the one that I went the furthest in, you are going to have so much conflict playing a team sport. And you know, the beautiful thing about that, most of, I think, American culture, we're taught like conflict avoidance, not conflict management. So we go through our entire lives avoiding conflict, never having those hard discussions, never confronting people who you need to confront. And so a team, it's like you're on the court, you got 3 seconds left, you got to decide who's making the game-winning shot. Like, you have got to talk about it. And then it doesn't go your way, you got to debunk it. You got to watch the tape afterwards. There's so much like conflict management and conflict resolution skills that I also learned with playing sports. So super grateful for that. Number 3 kind of goes along with number 1, entering us in reading and spelling bee competitions. I say us because I'm one of 6 kids. So my mom was kind of, if you've seen the movie King Richard, I think she also had a little bit of a strategy just to keep popping babies out until one of them is the superstar. It kind of works maybe. But what I loved about the reading competitions, again, it goes into learning. It made reading competitive for me. It made me develop drive. It helped me learn. I wasn't just reading to be smarter. I was reading to like win competitions. So again, I developed this very competitive spirit at a young age. And what do you need? What comes out of competition? When you're backed up against the wall and you're facing adversity, what do you lean on? Inner strength, your mind, willpower, discipline, focus, all of these things that I pulled out of sports and arts and reading competitions. I now inject that into everyday life as an adult, into my business, as a person trying to navigate this world, okay? So those reading competitions were huge. Number 4, teaching respect. Now, I can't remember which country in Asia this was, but there's this like rule where students and kids don't learn anything scholarly. They learn manners and respect for the first like 6 to 7 years of their life. I'm like, imagine a world where respect was like, that was the education for the first years of your life. How much kinder would this world be? And so again, Nigerian culture in the home, you do not dare pass my mother without saying good morning. Even sometimes I would just be running to the bathroom. I'm like, please don't see me. Please don't see me. And I'm just like, just want to go to the bathroom. I just don't feel like talking. It's 4 a.m. because my mom wakes up at like 4 to pray. If you're an African or you have African parents, you understand the prayer lines at 4 and 5 a.m. But Gloria, you can't say good morning. Why you're going to pass me without saying good morning? And I'm like, good morning, mother. Good morning. And it became ingrained. Good afternoon, good evening. And now as an adult, I pass by strangers. I'll be in the elevator. I'll just randomly, oh, good morning, sir. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I just see how shocked people get that I greet them so politely. And I'm like, oh, I get it. It wasn't just about like you giving me a hard time at 4 a.m. It was teaching me how to navigate the world, to treat others with kindness and respect. If I can give my mom this same type of respect, how much better does it make me out in the world? Good morning, sir. Good evening. Good afternoon. How are you? Like, I don't have to think about that. It is so second nature because I've been doing it since probably, I don't know, 4, probably as soon as I was talking. I didn't say mama, dada. I said, good morning, good morning. It's probably my first words, okay? Another thing that we learned regarding respect was that only using your right hand, and again, this is very old school African tradition and custom, but like only giving, like if I wanted to give my dad a newspaper, I would hand in the newspaper, good morning, father, and I would hand in the newspaper. If it was in my left hand, he'll be like, try again. Oh, try again. And I'd be like, oh. And I would switch hands. And even something small like that, like there's nothing wrong with being left-handed. But when you train people at a young age to be very conscious about what they're doing, conscious about their movements, conscious about their actions, they think twice before they flip someone off because they got cut off while driving, okay? Like I'm very, very, very cautious and conscious about my actions, because small things like that, using my right hand out of respect to hand people things, it just makes me think a level deeper. And that's super important. One thing about productivity, I started to realize this with a lot of people. Why is it that we only work hard when we're being rewarded for it? Think about the last time you really put your mind towards something. You really dedicated yourself to a goal. You really were like, I'm ready to be productive at this. Because there was probably a reward or there was some type of positive reinforcement on the other side. That is bad. Dr. Dooney, I see you nodding. That is bad. And I have an example. In the past, I remember I would have these group of students that I would lead and teach. And I was like, why aren't they motivated? Why don't they want to like be better? Why don't they want to be educators? Like, why do I have to constantly push and tell them like, you got this, you got this, you got this. And then I was like, okay, what if I put prizes at the end? And so at the end, I picked the top 5 students in the class. And you know what happened? Instead of those 5 students being praised for their work, all of the other students were like, wait, I didn't know there was a prize. Glo, that's not fair. You didn't tell us that there was something to win. I was like, I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to. If you are only wanting to work hard because there's a reward at the end of it for you, check your heart, check your mission, check your goals, check your alignment, check your intention. It was so telling that people were like, I'm willing to work if I know that I will get something out of it. Here's the thing, you can't cheat life. Like I might be rewarding you with something, but life rewards the people who are willing to put in the work, to do the hard things, to show up consistently, to have balance in their life, maintain integrity with everything that they do. And what I love about this new era and this new age, I'm currently reading a book called Halftime by Bob Buford. And what it talks about is that people no longer want to work until retirement and then just sleep until they die. Like maybe a few years ago, that sounded like the dream. Like you just want to get to retirement age and then you're just a log until death. Like, you know, it sounds appealing for a couple minutes, but it's like, people want to do meaningful work until they die. And doing meaningful work is a lifetime commitment to productivity and figuring out ways to develop habits, to maintain your own alignment and maintain intention in everything that you do. So 10 things that have helped me be more productive. Make sure your journals are out. And like Brendan said, I'm someone who I feel like I've lived 6 lives, maybe 7 lives. You all might know about 2 of them, but quick context, I've been to almost 90 countries. I'm currently in country number 89, Turks and Caicos, and I have a goal to travel every country in the world. I'm not in a rush. There are people that have beat Guinness records. I actually have friends who have been to every country in the world and they tried to do it at a certain age. For me, I just like it as a lifelong pursuit. It keeps me hungry, it keeps me eager, it keeps me as a student. And I just love that there's an opportunity, especially living in a virtual age, that you can work and live anywhere in the world. So being a world traveler, being a travel blogger, sometimes my brand deals were a little bit slow. So I had to get creative with how I would make money. And one of my students, one time I was teaching English in Spain, and one of my English students that I was tutoring, her dad overheard that I played college basketball. And he said, oh my gosh, actually my neighbor is a coach of a semi-pro team here in Spain. Like, are you curious? And I was like, I hadn't played in a couple years. I was, a little bit out of shape, but I said, sure. And so I went to my neighbor. I borrowed his basketball shoes that were 3 sizes too big. It was like a 12 and a half. I wear a 9, but I tied it up really tight. And I was like, I'm going to make this work. And I remember showing up to tryouts like, this is terrifying. It was in Barcelona, or if you're Spanish, Barcelona. And going there in Catalonia, they don't even speak Spanish, they speak Catalan. So all of my Spanish lessons can kind of like go down the drain because I was there to speak Catalan with my teammates. Long story short, I try out, I push it, I give it my all. They sign me on the spot. So now I am an official semi-pro basketball player in Spain. La Liga Femenina 2 is where I played, and it was incredible. And when I think about that, the coach pulled me aside. He said, all right, vamos, Gloria, bueno, no. He's like, you're great, we love you, but I have to be honest, you're out of shape. I was about 40 pounds heavier than I am now. And I was like, it wasn't something that I didn't know. Like I had known it. I was having siestas on the beach. I was eating anything I wanted. I was enjoying the travel life, and I was young. So when you told me that I had weight to lose and that I needed to get back in basketball shape, instead of take it as like a trigger, because again, when we know that we've failed in an area of our life, someone calling it out isn't meant to attack us. It's meant to remind us that I know you're better than this. I know you can do better than this. Over the next 5 months, I lost the 40 pounds. The next 5 months, you know how I did it? I made sure every night I gave myself a 3 to 4 hour window. Before I went to bed, I would not eat. And my dinner was fruits. I was like, I want to make sure if I'm going to bed and I'm laying with food in my stomach, I want it to be something that's nourishing. So I made sure I ate fruits for dinner. And then during the day, drinking a lot of water, staying active, running a mile 5 times a week. Did that very consistently for 4 months, and eventually the weight dropped. But something like that, I was like, when someone gives me a mission, I don't know if you're the kind of person that rises to the occasion or takes offense and sulks. If someone is telling you that, you can do bigger things in life, you were meant to do this, I see this in you. Are you going to take that as like, oh, well, I kind of see it too, or are you going to rise to the occasion? So many times in my life, travel blogging, semi-pro basketball, wedding photographer, in every area, in every season, I've had to rise to the occasion, not being comfortable with where I was at, but knowing that I can improve. So tool number 1, use Toggl, Toggl. Use Toggl to track how much time you are spending on an activity. It's an app, and you can also download the Google Chrome plugin for your desktop. But it's crazy because I remember Prince EA said this quote just a couple weeks ago, or last week at Napa Valley with Brenda's mastermind. But he said, if you want to crack it, you got to track it. And I was like, that's why I love Toggl so much. Toggl allows me to see where I'm wasting time, where I'm spending too much time, and what could be delegated. A lot of us are spending useless hours on things that aren't moving the needle, things that aren't even making sense for the place in our business that we're at. So use Toggl, and then only allow yourself to work 45 minutes to 60 minutes at a time. After an hour, you're useless. I know Brendan goes by this thinking as well. Your brain can't work on the same thing for too long of a time. So give yourself, even if it's a 2-minute break, if it's a 5-minute break, if it's a 10-minute break, give yourself margin in between activities. And after you've worked on something very hard for an hour, stand up. Like you can do Brendan's Qigong and all the goofy stuff. I'm kidding, Brendan. But do something to move your body and just allow yourself to kind of recalibrate. A lot of us are so used to putting our heads down and we wonder why our back hurts. We've been hunched over for the last 18 months on our laptops. Check your posture, check your feet, check your movements, check your limbs, move them around, okay? Welcome to another amazing day to grow. I don't know about you, but this year came and went. Whether 2021 was a good or bad year for you, it came and gone. And now it's time to get ready for 2022. What I love about October and what I love about just the way I look at the future. So finishing the year strong,
I try to remember what I've been telling myself lately. And for many of you, you probably have a mantra that you don't even know about. And one of the mantras that I heard recently was by Florence Scovel Shinn. I do wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. So when I think of finishing strong, I immediately go back to a story from my childhood. I was 12 years old. And does anybody remember having to do the timed mile? Like that was a part of our physical education. Depending on where you grew up, it sucked for us. We had to run a mile. I think it was once every month, and we had to continue to beat our mile time. And so Coach Peters, he didn't know that even though I was a chubby little something, you know, I had the cheeks, I love to eat my food. So I was a chubby little something, but I was quick. I was quick with my mouth and I was quick with my legs. And so I'm in this fourth lap of my mile and I'm like, oh, and I'm just in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm getting this 7-minute mile. Like, I feel good. Like, this is it. Oh, good for me. And so once I finish the line, I slow down. And Coach Peters goes, what are you doing? You have one more lap. Get back out there and go. But I was like, no, this is my fourth lap. This is my fourth. He didn't realize that I could lap all of the skinny girls. He didn't think I was capable of running a 7-minute mile. And instead of let my pride and ego get me in that moment and say, no, Coach Peters, you could have watched me better. No. I was like, I'm gonna run the fastest lap you have ever seen in your life. Probably not ever in his life. But I got back, I said, okay. And I sprinted that last lap. I had nothing in me, but I sprinted to show him what I was capable of doing. And when I ran my fifth lap, he said, wow. Wow, that's what finishing strong is. Even when there are people that are doubting you, even when there are people that don't believe in your capabilities, even when you know you've done the work, I challenge you and I encourage you to take that extra lap. There's this quote that says the most free space in the world is the extra mile. Like that's the most uncrowded place in the world is the extra mile. No one ever goes there to get what they want. So like Coach Peters, even though in that moment I was hurt and I was kind of a little bit like annoyed that he didn't believe in me, I believed in myself and I knew what I was capable of. And ever since then, for every mile that I ran, I said, Coach Peters, you're gonna watch me, right? Coach Peters, please watch me. And when I would go around those laps, I would count out loud, 1, next lap, 2, so that by 4, there was no doubt that I ran a mile. Okay, finishing strong. Now, one thing that I recently shared and one thing that I hope will encourage all of you, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a 9-to-5, or whether you're just someone who wants to have more flow in your life, there are 4 seasons. And I want everyone to write this down because this really freed me up. This freed me, it liberated me, and it allowed me to have less guilt around the way I was showing up in my life. So the first season that I want to talk about is winter. I hate winter. I'm from the Bay. I born and raised in California, grew up a little bit in Arizona, then went to college in Kansas, and then traveled around the world for 8 years. But winter season, if you stay in this season for too long, it can agitate you. But you know what my winter season is? That's my learning season. We are coming up on January. That is going to be your learning season. Ask yourself these questions. In my winter season for learning, what will I be investing in? Because even coaches need coaches. I know many of you are coaches, but coaches need coaches and leaders need to be led. What will you be reading? What skill sets will you be developing? What will you be learning for 2022? If you can start your winter season, your learning season with this approach, my goodness, you will have so much more focused energy because not every season is meant for you to constantly be learning and investing and thinking and all of that stuff, because there's going to be other seasons, which I'm going to talk about next. My spring season is for launching, okay? After you take those 3 months to learn and learn and learn, that spring season, I need all of you to think about what you're going to be launching in April. That could be an ebook, that could be a course, it could be a workshop, it could be a retreat, it could be whatever you want it to be, a masterclass. My goodness, we are living in the most beautiful era where we get to monetize our brains. We get to think of an idea,
materialize it, and get paid for it. We are blessed to live in a season like this. So spring, what will you be launching? Who will you be serving? Who will you be reaching? Who do you want to be engaging with? Now, for many of you, you might be like me, where maybe your audience is filled with several categories of people. You got mothers, you've got vegans, you've got plant lovers, you got travel enthusiasts. And so you have these 4 different categories of people that follow you and maybe want to learn from you. It's like, oh, well, Glow, who do I serve? Who do I focus on? Who do I build a product for? Here's how I look at it. When you go to a party and you have those 4 categories of people, let's say there's influencers in one category, mommy bloggers in another category, coaches in another category, who are you most likely to hang out with? That's who you want to serve. Who are you drawn to energetically? Who do you most enjoy spending your time with, whether you're being paid for it or not? The reason I love to serve female entrepreneurs is because that's who I hang out with, whether there's a transaction made or not. I am a female entrepreneur. That's what I know. That's what I do. I've been blogging and telling my story on the internet for 20 years before the internet was cool. Can you imagine telling people you had a blog back in 2001? At that time, it was AOL and AOL. Everyone used the internet for email. And I was like, well, I have a little blog. Do you want to read my blog? And I started the blog because I didn't have friends at school. I was isolated by my differences. And I was like, okay, I have Nigerian parents, but I live in America. Who do I belong to? And so I would straddle this fence every day, like, am I you or am I them? Where is my sense of belonging? And in that sense of, or in that isolation, it allowed me to be very observational. I was very introspective. And that's a blessing now because it makes me extremely empathetic. When people go through things, I'm like, oh, I've seen that. Oh, I've done that. Oh, I've been there. Okay. So what's something about your childhood or something about your past that you can now use as a part of your business or the way you serve other people? Okay. So launching, who do you want to serve? Who do you want to be around? The next season, of course, is the summer season. That's where most of us thrive. The summer season is all about rest and rejuvenation and resetting and refreshing your mind. Living. Summer is about living, okay? Learning in the winter, launching in the spring, living in the summer. It's not natural to constantly be grinding. We don't need to be grinding 24/7. And so I want more of us to honor the season of living, honor the season of rest, because if you are constantly on, you will burn out, and burnout will be inevitable, okay? And the last season, which we just had fall equinox a couple weeks ago. So the fall season, the current season that I'm in, and the current season that I want you all to be in as well, is listening. Listening. How can we better listen to the needs of our community? How are you putting yourself in a position to serve people without strings attached? How are you finding ways to just pour, just serve, just be present, just honor and reward and thank the people that have been with you all year? It's so important, because without feedback, without knowing what people are saying about you or your products or your services, how are you going to know how to come through in the next year? This listening season, October, November, and December, is literally setting you up for your launch season. If you do the listening season really well, your customers will literally tell you, I'm frustrated, I don't know what to do, I'm overwhelmed. They will give you language that you can literally use in your marketing copy to create and sell and build your next product.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.